perfect. Now you get the wall. Right, we're going to do some electrics, but before we get started, we need somewhere to hang all the electrics off. So we've been back and forth with this for the last few weeks, trying to figure out the electrical system, which we still haven't done properly. But in the meantime, I've put this board together, literally just pocket screwed a couple of bits together. That's going to go in there. Get that cable out of the way. If you can't hear me, it's because the washing machine's blaring behind me. So let's hope that one directional microphone's doing its job. And that's going to go somewhere in there, like so. Like that. The bed beams will come across these gaps. I cut that one wrong, so that's mega big. But that's going to come across here. The marking that we've got here is for the battery, because we've been trying to mark everything out where it's all going to go on the board, which I will show you in a minute. The previous owners who started the build put in these cables that run to the battery. These are for the DC to DC charger. So we're going to try and put that, utilise this, put the DC charger here, which again I'll show you in a minute, and utilise this already being there rather than having to move everything around. I haven't figured out how to screw this to the wall yet, but I'll get to that. So we'll take this back inside, show you all the components, and then show you what we think is the place that we're going to put them, and then we can screw them to the board and think about cabling everything up, which sounds dead easy, doesn't it? You zoom in every time you pick that camera up.
I don't know. It's my fingers. My fat fingers.
You've got skinny fingers.
What's my adder fingers then? Right, come on, let's go.
What have I done with the bracket?
Took it outside.
I've lost the fucking bracket. Right. Let's test it. Watch it not work. Oh fucking hell, look what I've done. It was resting on bits of scrap and I've screwed it into.
Oh dear.
What a dick. Right, anyway.
Right.
Get that out of the way. First one going on.
Oh, God. I feel sick.
Feel sick. Hey! Look at that.
Beautiful.
It's not bad, is it?
Not bad at all.
Let's hope it's in the right place.
It will be.
Right, other than a couple of isolator switches that we still need to add, which that's one of them, which will go either there or on the side there, I'm not sure yet. So one there and one for the solar panels. This is pretty much the setup. So we've got the battery, which is currently sat in the van because I was testing things. The battery, which is a Fogstar 460 amp hour Drift Pro. We did have originally two Victron, so obviously if you are looking around Campervan electricals, you will have come across Victron. They're pretty much top tier, but they cost a fortune. I have spent a lot of money on this, but if we're going to blow up or set on fire, might as well do it in style, haven't we? So we did have originally 2 Victron batteries lined up that were refurbed. However, when it came to testing them, they were dud, and so that fell through, and we couldn't afford new Victron batteries. They were just too expensive to what we wanted to spend. So we went with the Fogstar. Just as good, it'll do everything that we need it to do and more. So that big boy is going in there. That'll sit on the floor, and we'll have a couple of straps over the top of it so it doesn't move. Where should we start? The big boy here, this is the Multiplus 2. So I'm going to keep this really simple because I don't understand the ins and outs of everything. The Multiplus is a charger and inverter, meaning when we plug the van in, if we stay on a campsite somewhere, this will charge the battery for us. So we've got 3 ways to charge this battery. We've got, if we plug the van in, we've got the solar panels on the top, and we have got the alternator and starter battery at the front. So I'll get to that in a second. So this is way number 1, if you will. If we plug the van in when we stay on a campsite, this will charge the battery. This will also convert, I hope I've got this right, this will also convert, or invert I should say, the 12 volt battery power into, I think, 240 volt. So we've got 3 plugs in the van, that little pop-up thing that you saw, that will connect into this one way or another, and it will convert this power into the power where we can use the 3-pin plugs. So that is the very basic. It does a lot more. I don't know how to put it into words, so you can Google that. That is the basics of that. Then we've got the second way to charge the battery, which is this little box called the Orion XS. This is a DC to DC battery charger. So what that does, the cables which you saw a minute ago that are coming up through the bottom of the van, they run to the battery and the alternator. The power, or the alternator will charge this battery via this. That's what that's for. So that's the second way. The third way is this little unit over here. Can you see that? This is the Victron MPPT. What this does is takes the solar panel cables, plugs in, the solar panel cables will go into a isolator switch, will then go into the MPPT. This little thing works its magic to take the energy from up there and make it charge that battery. Over here we have got 2 fuse boards, which is for all the 12 volt stuff, all the lights, everything on the switchboard basically. All that is going to go into there and have its own fuse. So if anything blows up, that's where it'll blow first. Under here is a Servo GX. This is basically the brains of the operation. Everything essentially connects into there and it talks to everything else. Over here is the Lynx distributor. Power from the battery goes into there and then comes out and feeds to all over the board, giving power to everything else. That's pretty much what that does. Above that we have got a Smart Battery Protect, and if I can remember rightly, I think what that does is if the voltage of the battery goes above or below a certain threshold, that will disconnect the load so that it doesn't do any damage to the battery. Don't quote me, but I think that's what that does. The little thing here is a smart shunt which connects to the battery, basically tells us what is happening in the battery, how full it is, how empty it is, what's coming in and out, all that jazz. And this, as well as pretty much everything, connects to each other and to an app so you can see on your phone exactly what's happening. There is also a screen on the switchboard which we have to run a cable for, which will also tell us what is happening. And then last but not least, over there we've got the consumer unit, which is just a basic consumer unit. Essentially it's just a fuse board for the bigger stuff. Right, so my next job is to put some holes, well not holes but gaps, using a router. I'm going to cut in down the side or underneath of each component, because I have got a few inches behind the board on purpose. What I want to do is try and hide as much cable behind the board as possible so that it's not all on display. I think the only cables that are really going to be on display are the ones above the battery, because they're really thick and it's just not worth the effort of trying to bend them around this small gap. So the ones that are coming directly off the battery and going into the shunt and the isolator, which will eventually feed into the distributor, we'll just leave them on display, the big thick ones. Everything else I should be able to push through behind and connect to everything else. So what I'm going to do is use a router to make the gaps, and I'm going to fill that gap. This makes no sense the way I'm describing it, but hopefully it will do when I show you in a minute. I'm going to put a rubber edge protector thing in those gaps so that the cables don't rub onto the wood and damage themselves. What I'll do is, using a small drill bit, just make a, so say I'm going from here to here and I want to make a gap. I'll put a small pilot hole on each side so I know that I'm going from that line to that line. Do that across everything. Take all this off, go outside, get the router, route the holes, and then I can put everything back on and feed the cables through in the right place. That was a whole lot of words, wasn't it? So let me just show you, because it's just easier.
Okay, go. Action!
Right, we're going to measure how much cable we need. I've got this old cable out the garage that I had lying around. What we need to do is write down each of the components and from which component to which component the cable's going to go. So let's say we are going from the battery protect to the fuse boards, for example. I'm going to get a bit of scrap cable and run it behind exactly where it's going to go, out of there and into there, and then measure that distance, and then I'm going to write all that down for each and every component, including the plug sockets that we've got in the van, including the plug for the mains power if we go onto a campsite. Write everything down, put all the measurements, and then we're going to send them to our friends over at Crozier Campers, who are going to be kind enough to cut all them cables down to size for us. Obviously this is going to be boring for you to watch, so we're just going to go straight to where we've got the cables from Crozier, and we can get fitting them, and then we'll go into a bit more detail on everything. So let's do a bit of TV magic. And just like that, we are back, and we have cables everywhere. The house is a shithole. All the red and black cables, can you see from there, babe? All the red and black cables are for the 12 volt stuff. The blue cables at the back and the, what do you call that
Trunking.
stuff? Trunking, thank you, is for the high voltage things, the mains power and the plug sockets. We've got a whole bunch of connectors, lugs, fuses, fuse holders, all sorts of shit going on. Hardly know what any of it does, but what else did we get? Oh, we borrowed off a friend some tools because I don't have them, and once we're finished with this I'm not going to need them again, so follow me, my love. Sorry, you're going to show everyone that the house is a shithole. We have borrowed a gigantic crimping tool. Look at that bad boy. Fuck you know. For the bigger stuff. We've got cable cutters, smaller crimping tools that each have their own job, a label maker so that we can label the 12 volt stuff and I know which ones are which, torque, what they call torque spanners and torque wrenches, because each and every screw and nut and bolt on each component has its own torque setting, which we've had to look up, and I've written down and made a note of. So each bolt everywhere, so under there, the screws that are in the Orion and the solar thing, they're all a different torque. So we've got all them written down, ready. What we need to do now is decide where to start, and I think because everything is coming in and out of the Lynx distributor, which is basically just a posh fuse board, we're going to start there. We're going to do all the negatives, and then we'll do all the positives once we've boxed all them off. As far as, let me turn that around a little bit. As far as the electrical board itself, I have added rubber edging like that, just self-adhesive stuff, not only to protect the cables a little bit, but also just because it looks a bit nicer. We've got a hole in the side here where the isolator is going to be. Can you reach that? So that is going to be there, and the cables will come back for that to the battery. What else is going on? I added a couple extra holes here and here for the cables that I'd forgot to cut with rubber little bungs. I think that is it. So we're going to get started. I want to make something very, very clear. This is not a instructional video on how to do van electrics. I don't want you to copy anything. I don't want you to assume that we're doing this right, because we're probably not. If we don't blow up or set on fire, it'll be a miracle, and I'm glad that I've got friends down at Crozier to help us with this, and they're going to look over it before I turn anything on. So we're going to fast forward. We'll show you now a couple of the crimping stuff and cutting things, but most of this now, us wiring up, we're going to fast forward through. We're not going to tell you details on fuse sizes, cable sizes, because this is not by any means an instructional video, because I don't want responsibility for you blowing up. Alright, so shall we crack on?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Right, so we will just show you the first one that we have done. So we've got the wire. What are these called again?
Lugs.
Lugs. So each lug has a number on, and the numbers are correspondent to the millimetre of the wire. So that in this case it's 16 mils, and the second number correlates to the pin on the fuse. So in which case,
well, right now we're doing over here
5. So
that's
it's 5 mil.
A 5 mil.
So we've got the right lug with 16.5. We've removed the casing around the wires. We're going to slip one of these on these magic babies. I don't know what it's called. Andy does,
Heat
probably. Heat shrink?
Yeah.
Is that literally it?
Yeah.
How ridiculous. fucking, I bet a man fucking named that a heat shrink. Right, and then this goes over the top, lug goes over the top, sits nicely, and then by magic.
No, you haven't.
Oh, we have to crimp it first. Sorry, we're going to crimp it, and then we pull this sleeve over the top, and we get a heat gun, and it just all wraps itself around.
Show them how your
Nice
crimps
and
work.
Tell you what, could you have bought a fucking bigger crimper? Jesus Christ.
So these are really good because.
So you can do different,
adjustable.
yeah, you can do different mills. So basically, you pop these through, and then you can change the setting at the top.
You've got it closed. That's why you can't do it.
Oh.
Open your scissors.
Okay. So I can push these through, and then you can change the gauge to suit, but we want it at 16, so make sure it is at 16, otherwise we're fucked. Why is it not going through? There we go. Right, and then this goes back like this. This goes through, and we have to go through like the middle-ish of the job, not to remove the wires. And then, can you do the honours? Because I can't do that. I've got it right where it needs to be though. Big squeeze. Oh! That's it. And then...
Pull from Open it.
Open it. So now it's all crimped down.
Test it.
And we've been told to give it a right good old tug. Yeah, it's not coming off. And then... we get the shrink wrap stuff. What's it called? Shrink something?
Yeah, shrink wrap.
Shrink wrap.
Heat shrink.
Heat shrink.
Whatever.
And here he comes with his latest toy.
It's not lazy, we've had this for ages.
Have we? Yeah. What for? What do we
Heat
need?
shrink.
Oh, fuck off. Please don't burn my fingers, I'll
Can you
fucking
see
kill you.
what's going on?
Oh, it's hot.
Oh yeah, it's...
And it just wraps itself around it. And there you have a lovely cable. So we've got to do that to... oh, you're doing one of those influencer things.
Well, you have to because the camera doesn't focus, so you've
Like
got to do
this.
that. Hang on.
So I'm
There
just
you go.
showing you some... You should do this.
Oh, fuck off.
Like this. That's still quite hot.
You start tapping your nails on something, I'm divorcing you. Right, that's
We've got
one
about
end.
75 million of these to do, so we're going to speed through it all because you don't want to watch us do this. But that's basically what we've got to do to every single wire. So Andy has been hard at work doing a few of the smaller cables, which he's done a fantastic job of, whilst I've been cooking dinner. He's also done a very tricky piece of wiring. It's only a very short piece of wiring, but that's one of the thick pieces. And now I'm going to have a crack at two of the larger pieces that will connect to the multiplus. So I just score
Yeah,
and hope for the best.
just score it.
Keep it in.
Perfect.
Perfect. Right. Last thing to go over the top. These are lovely little this. Thank you. Boom! done. So we've now got 2 large wires, both from the Multiplus, that will be hooked in like so, and then it comes around the back, and then this will link to the large fuse box, which is, well, that is a bit of a twist through. There we go. Like that, or wherever they are.
On the bottom.
On the bottom.
Right, let's update you on where we're up to. So, obviously I've put the battery in place. It is sitting on a metal plate that I got from Fogstar that will be eventually drilled into the floor of the van when everything is in the right place. And then a strap will go over this to the other side and hold the battery down. The original plan for the battery was that the connection points were actually on this side. That's what I had in my head. However, when I put it in place and started trying to get the cables to the right length and things, it was really awkward. And I was told that originally that the cables for coming off the battery going to the what the hell is this thing called now? Bloody hell. Come on, Andy. What's it called? The links. Right, so I was told originally that the cables coming from the battery going to the links distributor needed to be the same size. So what I had originally planned was that on the side, on the outside, or even on the inside of the board there, was going to be the isolator switch. So the original plan was to have the battery the other way around. The positive terminal or cable would come up here, connect to the isolator switch, and then from the isolator switch another cable would come and connect to the links. And because those cables needed to be of a similar size, What that would have meant was that the negative cable would have had to do this big loop around here just to be the same length as the red one, and then come back to connect to the shunt. Then I read that they don't need to be the same length, and I got confused and I don't know which one's true, so whatever. In the end, what I've done, and it makes more sense, I've turned the battery around, so the terminals are over there, and what I have done is in the middle of this cable, this positive cable, because everything needs to be fused, we've put a mega fuse in there. It's not connected just yet for obvious reasons. So I've glued a mega fuse holder to the top of the battery. Not sure if that's a good idea or not, but I have super glued a mega fuse holder to the battery, cable coming to the fuse, then from the fuse right up. And what I've done is I drilled out the hole that sticks out the side here, so it's like that, a little bit bigger, so that I could fit the isolator switch directly onto the links distributor. So the cable now, rather than going all the way over there to an isolator and then all the way back to that connection point, it just goes direct into the isolator and straight into the links. Now, the negative obviously comes from over there, one cable all the way, so it's pretty much the same length, connects to the shunt, and then from the shunt goes to the negative bus bar that feeds all those connections on the bottom. So that essentially gives us power to this links, and in there everything else is connected. So I have added lugs of the right size to all the different components, and then I have made sure each of them are labelled. Don't know if you can see that from there, so I know what's what. In case I ever need to disconnect anything, I'll know exactly what they are. I've not fastened anything to the right torque spec just yet. I was just getting things in place and making sure that I could get the cover on without any hassle of cables in the way. I have had to make a couple of adjustments because of where they sit, and I've just sanded down a couple of extra holes on the cover there just to get that on, so that's fine. So what I'm going to do is take these positive cables off now. I've got one left to put on, which is the MPPT, but I've not got the fuse. I'm waiting for the fuse to arrive for it. So I'm going to take these positives off so I can get access to the negatives with the torque wrench. Fasten them all up to spec, the negative ones. I'm going to put the little cover clips back on that go in between the positive and negative for a bit of extra protection. Put all them back on, and then I can put the positives on, tighten those up to right torque, and then I think we are good to go. What else? I'll show you on the side here. So what I've done is, originally I cut a hole for the isolator to go here. However, when we changed that plan, I moved the isolator and I'm left with this big hole. So now what I've done is I've stuck on a piece of 6mm birch, and I have drilled a hole in that instead, which is smaller, and used it for the little monitor, the battery monitor that comes with the shunt and the what do you call that? The battery protect. So when we turn this all on, we'll know everything's working, or at least we'll know that the connection's working, because that will come on. The only thing I haven't connected yet, so I've connected the power to the multiplus, but I haven't connected anything from the multiplus to the consumer unit. I've got one cable sticking out there ready to go in. I think there's another cable, but I'm missing it, so I need to get that from the multiplus to the consumer unit. But I've never wired one of these up yet, and I still don't know how, so I need to read up on that first. But what I might do is just get everything else out in place, done, get this whole thing in the van, and then I'll think about wiring that up. The same with, if I can show you over this end, I've got two cables sticking out of the MPPT that are going to connect into another isolator, which isn't going to go on this board, but will go on the inside the van, which I'll show you in a bit. So I'm not going to connect that just yet either. I'll wait until we're in the van for that. And I think that is pretty much it. Everything is fused. So We've got a fuse for each component in here. Still missing one. I've got to wait for that to arrive. Fuse for the battery. The only thing that's not fused here is the two 12 volt fuse boards, and they are fused on the back. Let me show you. Little move around. No, not that way, hang on. My house is an absolute shithole. 1 second. Okay. Right, that's what the back looks like. We've got two MIDI fuses attached to the back, coming from the fuse boards and going to the battery protect. You can't see because I'm pointing the wrong way. From the fuse board into the MIDI fuse over to the battery protect there. All this obviously looks like a hot mess, so I'm going to get some cable clips. Bear with me. I'm going to get some cable clips and tidy all that up so that nothing is shaking and rattling around. Oh, it's very chaotic in this room. Not used to having this much mess around. Anyway, so yeah, that's where we're up to. So take this off, make sure everything's the right torque, put that all back together, and then I think we are ready to get this in the van, which is super exciting, but also super nervous because I'm not an electrician, don't know if this is going to work or we're going to set on fire straight away. So it is what it is. I think we're all right. Oh, one last thing. I turned the servo upside down because I noticed that a lot of the connections, there's still a couple more to go into there, were on the top of the servo, so this is upside down now, and it was just getting really busy in this hole with all the cables sticking out. So what I've done is I've just flipped that over. Most of the connections are now coming from underneath, which makes it a lot easier. There's just that power one that's there, and that comes out of there, connects to the links. But yeah, right, I'm going to crack on because I want to try and get this in the van today. Right, I think everything inside is ready to come out, but before I bring the board out, I'm just starting to put the spade connectors onto the cables that come out for the switchboard. So where is the switchboard? Switchboard is there. If you remember, we made that ages ago. That's going to be covering that hole, and the spade connectors go on the end essentially. So if I've got these the right wires, yeah, so they're the two cables for the bathroom light and fan. One is coming directly from the fan itself, which is that one. So that is going to come out of here, connect onto the back of the switch. See these little spade connectors. Which one's the bathroom? Down here, there. So it's going to connect onto the back, and then the other cable is going from here, from the switchboard to the fuse box. So the live of that is going to connect onto the back of there as well, and then we connect the two negatives together when I've put a spade connector on. Those two negatives connector to complete the whole thing, and then that is that one lot done. And then I've just got to do the rest for all of these. I've also ran a USB and HDMI extension lead for the screen. I think I've got it here. 1 second. For the screen that is going to go up there, if I can pull this out, that is going to go up there, and that's going to tell us all about the electrical system and what's going on with that. But the cable that comes with it, that plugs into the servo, isn't long enough to get all the way back. So we've got an extension lead that we can plug that into, and that goes all the way to the back where the electrical boards are. Let me show you what else I've done in the back. Right, so other than making a mess, I've got all the cables in place. Let me just turn that around so you can see what's going on. I've got all the cables in place coming out of there. That's going to feed into the back of the fuse boards, the 12 volt fuse boards. Obviously there's an excess amount of cable, so we'll cut all that down as necessary. You might notice I have also made this framework across the back here, just out of some 2x1. And the point of that is to hide everything, because we've got these ducting, we've got cables, we've also got the cables coming from the heater eventually, and it's all just going to be going across there, and I don't like the look of it when you open the back doors and all that shit's there. So what I've done is put that in, the electrical unit will be across there, and then I'm going to put a full piece of green board all the way across, just to hide everything, and it'll look nice and neat. I've also run, as you can see in there, the two wires. One's going to go, it's that blue wire for the high voltage stuff. One's going to go from over here, which is the main supply. So we'll connect that to that, and that runs through the back of that framework that I just said, all the way around, and then it'll end up here coming into the consumer unit. And the same thing where we put the pop-up plugs, I've run another cable behind the kitchen unit, and it comes out down the bottom of there, runs along and comes over here, again going to the consumer unit. And I think once I've got the switchboard ready, we can bring that out and start testing things.
I'm going in first.
Oh, you are.
I'm going in
Oh no,
first.
I am, aren't I? Sorry.
It's okay.
I can't rest that. Just on that, you're going to have to stay with it. Okay, we are in the van, obviously not in the place it's going to be. We've got all these cables at the back, I don't know if you can see behind here, all this excess of cables that we're not going to need, because all of these, if I just grab one, for example, that goes all the way to the back of the van. This is, what is this? This is the outside lights. All of these basically only need to get to here, to these two fuse boxes. So I only need enough cable to get through there and connect into there comfortably, and then all that excess is just pointless. So I'll cut all these down one by one, relabel them so I know which is which, and what I'll do is, whilst this is out away from the wall, I will wire these up now so that I know I've got that little bit of excess and play, and then I'm not short on anything. So that's the first job. Cut these down, stick connectors on the end, and then get them wired up to the 12 volt fuse boards, and then we can push this back, make sure everything looks alright in the back, and then get a battery in and start testing everything.
Ready? You have to hold your side because it's...
I've got you.
You just only look up over.
Right, so don't push that way, we're just going to go towards the wall.
Yeah. Ready? Perfect. Done.
Bloody battery's heavy. Right. Let's get this in place. That's the plate that's going to get bolted into the floor eventually. I'm not going to do it just yet, just in case. Just in case I have to move this for any reason, just whilst we test everything. But yeah, that is going to go in there, get bolted to the floor, and then there's a strap that hooks in either side, holds the battery down. For now I can just slide it in, it's not going to go anywhere. Right, I'm not connecting the consumer unit to anything just yet, just simply because I'm not 100% sure how to do it and if the connections are correct to the multi-plus. So I'm just going to turn the multi-plus off, not connect these, just take the ends up, and I'll double check about that. Right, let's get this in place. I don't know if you can see from over there, they've temporarily connected the solar panels to the isolator switch. I say temporarily because that's going to connect onto this green wall, which will be here. So that's just dangling for the time being. Right, it's time to turn it on. I've put all the fuses in for the 12 volt stuff, other than the fridge and a couple other bits. I have wired one switch, which is the main light, onto the switchboard. So when we turn this on, we should expect to see a bit of power on that little screen on the end there, Sam. Yeah, on there. That'll give us some details there. We should hear the fans kick in, and possibly the lights might turn on, because I don't know if the switch is on or off. Other than that, any sudden loud noises or fires, then we've got issues. Right, so battery turn on. Now we turn the isolator on. That should give us everything. I'm a little bit nervous. Are you nervous?
Nervous for you. Well, there's something on the dial.
On the end there.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
Yeah, lights have come on.
Lights in the bedroom are on,
Lights
that's
in
a
the
good
bedroom
sign.
are on.
I didn't hear the fans kick in.
Fans
though.
haven't kicked in though.
I'm not sure why. But we've got power there, so
Yeah,
that's good.
battery capacity.
Right,
That's what it's flashing us with, battery capacity.
that's on. I'm going to turn that inverter off. Oh, it is off, that's fine. Right, they should work. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, 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 look at that, we've got lights in the bedroom.
Amazing.
Right, let me go and turn the lights on in the main bit. Fans are working. We might even... These remotes have been sat here for 1.5 years for the fans. Not even put batteries in them. We don't need it right now.
Okay.
That's working. So turn that one on down there. Just press the on button. That's working.
Nice. Nice and smooth.
I've clearly done something wrong. Right, we think we found the problem. And the problem was the instructions to the on switches were wrong. Because you get 3 options at the back here, and it said connect the positives to the top and the bottom, and nothing happens. So now we're going to connect positives to the middle and one of the others. Is that the right one I'm doing? And see if that changes anything. So hopefully lights should come on when I turn the switch on. Hey! Look at that! Look at that! Look at that! Off! On! Off! On!
Amazing.
Right, that's that one. Let's try the spotlights. If I can find them, hang on. I'll just whack them in any port for the time being. Oh, this is awkward. Hey, look at this,
Amazing.
Samantha.
Look at
Off,
that.
on, off, on. That can work at night time now. Now we've fucking built the thing. Look at this.
Happy?
Fuck it, I'm wiring up the bathroom as well. Let's see, where's that one?
What's right?
I want to see. Hang on. Where's the bathroom? Bathroom. There it is. Is that the one? That is the one. Let's have a bit of bathroom action. Put you in there.
Oh, it's because she's fiddling with it.
Hang on. I've hit the button by accident. There we go. Where's the... We'll be having showers in there soon.
Amazing.
Is that what? Yeah.
So good.
Very happy.
Show us your happy face.
Right. I wish I would do close-ups. I've not even had a shower today.
No one can
Right,
smell you.
everything is working. We don't need to wire up the switchboard just yet. There is a screen to put in there for the electricals, which will give us some information, which we can plug that in now, actually. Hang on. Oh. I haven't got the mounting bracket for this yet, so I can't put it on the board, but you can hold that.
Yep.
I will plug this in, and it will give us something. I don't know what.
Yep, starting.
There we
Setting.
go.
Notifications.
Look at this. No idea what any of it means, but it is working. And that's what we want.
Amazing.
So the whole system needs to be set up via the app, so that everything's working smoothly. There's no point in showing you that because I don't know how to do it yet. But is this the end of the video? I think this is the end of the video.
It's the electric, yeah.
We've got electrics.
Yeah.
I need to tinker about with everything. I need to tinker about with the solar stuff. Make sure that's charging. Still got to figure out how to wire up the consumer unit. But we've got power. I think this is the end of the video, Sammy. Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, sign it off.
I'm trying to think if we missed anything before we close off.
And have a cry.
It feels like we've been doing this for fucking months, this electrical shit. And now all of a sudden I'm just like, oh yeah, it's done now. What else is there to do? It's all working, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got fans, we've got power, we've got lights. Switchboard will get put in place. What's next? Get this boxed off.
This boxed off, plumbing.
Plumbing and heating.
Plumbing and heating, and then that's us done.
And then we're almost there.
On the road. Well, fixtures and making it look nice and spend a fortune on
2 minute thing.
everything else that we need.
Yeah, I think we can sign this off.
Go on then.
Because I've had enough, to be honest.
Come on, do it.
Look at the state of this fucking place. This was clean.
I know. But
It's just chaos everywhere.
it is. We'll get our sitting room back though.
Yeah, I know. Right, I'm going to finish off tinkering. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry if you were expecting a tutorial. This isn't it. This is just us getting power because, like I said before, I don't want any responsibility for whatever you guys are doing. Yeah, like Sam said, heating and plumbing next. I don't know if that's one video or two, but we're going to get that done, and we're very, very close to the end now. We are 3 weeks away from the summer holidays.
Yeah.
3 weeks away.
2.
Right, we're not going to get this finished in 2 weeks. I can tell you that right now.
Doesn't matter.
But we will be sleeping in this van somewhere in this country
By our anniversary.
by our anniversary. Oh, 100%. Our anniversary is at the end of August. We are absolutely doing that. So yeah, summer holidays around the corner. Let's get this thing boxed off. Thank you for watching. Leave some comments, questions, tell me I'm shit. I don't know. You can tell me what I've done wrong. I don't care. Thank you very much and see you in the next one.